Hi, welcome back to my channel, Healer in You. I promote self-healing. I'm discussing trauma and the disadvantage to denying its significance in everyone's life and even the culture of today. So we're all in some way or another traumatized from something that happened. There's many traumatic experiences around us, and so it's affecting the culture, it's affecting our relationships. And so I want to talk about the path to healing through your fears. Okay, so a lot of times our fears is the way to go, and you've heard a lot of those sayings. Do something you fear every day to enjoy your life and things like that. We know we are living life through our traumatic experiences when we feel discomfort around us without an explanation. That's your first sign. Okay, you're like uncomfortable and you're not sure why. And you might be in a situation where you're uncomfortable. You could be living in a situation where you're uncomfortable. You could be traumatized on a daily basis because of your living situation. And that's a lot of what a lot of people are living today because they're living from paycheck to paycheck, or they're possibly homeless or about to be homeless. Um, they've got a relationship that's abusive. There are a whole lot of reasons why you're living in fear. You're living in fear because you know something's about to happen because it has happened before. That's what your body tells you. And that's not actually true. Just because something happened before, it doesn't mean it's going to happen again. So you need to ask yourself some questions. Why exactly am I afraid? And what am I afraid of? And if this thing does happen, okay, this thing happens, then what? What am I afraid of happening if this thing happens? If I do lose my job and this is my last paycheck, what will happen? And so that will help you to face your fears and come up with a plan to maybe avoid the fear or just learn from the past experience that was your trauma that you may have not dealt with yet. Maybe you already did lose a job and it was a really bad circumstance, but that circumstance is not going to happen again. 100% that's the same thing isn't going to happen again. So that's one way to deal with your trauma. The thing that happened to you that caused you so much trauma is not going to happen again. You learn from it. God put you in that situation. He's not going to put you in the situation again to learn the same thing, but you learn from it. So we shouldn't be afraid. So when we feel like we're uncomfortable, we should just assess ourselves and say, I'm uncomfortable because I've been in this situation before and it didn't turn out. And there was something traumatic that happened. And just accept that, release that, and let yourself know, well, that's not going to happen again. And even if it did happen again, you would know exactly how to get out of it because you've got out of it before. So these traumatic experiences, in a sense, they lie to us to prevent us from doing things that we need to move forward. Another way that trauma affects us is through our fear. Many times we are living life through our fears. What are some of the things you fear and you cannot understand? There's a lot of things that you fear usually that you don't understand. So that's one of the things you need to do in life. Why do I fear these things? You, as a child, may have faced this thing and it didn't turn out right. Could be something as simple as that. It's an idea in your head that your family gave you, some kind of a belief that you have that if you do something a certain way, then everything's going to come undone. Your life's going to be over. But when you actually think about it, think about these fears that you have. A lot of these fears are just nonsense. Why do you fear these things? These fears could be attached to past trauma. We may have created some kind of safety zone, keeping us free of triggers and new experiences. So usually if you fear something, you've created a safety zone. Oh, no, no, I'm not going to do this. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do this. That kind of thing. That's usually because you're protecting yourself from something. These patterns that continuously keep us comfortable may be keeping us from experiencing something new we may enjoy. Something that is designed for healing, growing, and glorifying God. That's really all I wanted to talk about today, is just to sit in your fear and think about it. Take a step forward in your fear and try to figure out what it is. If you have a partner who's willing to expose you little by little to these fears, that's really great. A work relationship where somebody's willing to expose you a little bit to these fears that you have. They might know that you're afraid to try a new position, but you're not ready to jump into it. But if they give you a few jobs towards that position and like slowly move you into that position, you might have more confidence to move into that position or into a different way of living or a different way of life or to just see things from a different point of view. Somebody who you should be around that's going to help you grow, who is a true friend or a partner, is going to actually slowly expose you or make you feel more comfortable in your fears when they're healthy. Like, I'm not talking about fears, things that you should be afraid of, because these are things that you should not be doing, but the things that will help you to grow and learn, you need someone who is willing to work with you slowly, especially if you survive, if you survive like really traumatic experiences. Like, you just can't jump into things. A lot of times jumping into those things will cause you to freeze automatically and just be paralyzed. So it's best to take things slow. And there are some people who actually jump into these fears to overcome their trauma and do work through being paralyzed. And that works for them too. So whatever works for you. That's the whole thing about the self-healing journey, is to do what works for you. And everybody is different, and people will give you ideas and advice, and I advise you to try different things because you never know what's going to work for you. And it's staying within these fears and comfort zones that keeps us trapped in our trauma. You may not notice you are operating out of fear. If you are pressed to avoid new situations, to grow or learn something new, ask yourself what you are afraid of. What am I afraid of, and why? So just like follow through with that. Kind of explore yourself and ask yourself, what am I afraid of and why? Am I letting trauma hold me back? Past trauma? Am I missing out on things I should enjoy because I'm afraid and I'm living in fear or too afraid to be uncomfortable? Being uncomfortable sometimes is the best step forward. Just don't let your trauma hold you back. That's what I'm asking you to do today. Have a great day.